Hey, this is Angel. This is my 12th day in a row making a video like this, and I'm really excited about that. Yeah, excited for the consistency. So something that came up for me today was deepening my understanding of financial stress. Um, this is like very much something that I've been on a journey I've been moving through, but I've also had like high and low moments in my life dealing with this. I think that it's such like a deep rooted thing. There's so many videos out there that kind of just like talk about like how to go about finding a job or like how to manifest, how to do different things to attract money and attract like a financial stability in your life. And I'm constantly like filtering out all of these things. I feel like financial stress can be so connected to how our emotional state is, but it's also connected to a lot of other things like cultural background and how we grew up, like different circumstances that could have like affected how we understood like the relationship to finances and like financial stability and like what we've seen, what our examples of that are also. um as I'm moving through this, I'm like really thinking about how there's so many situations that really and truly are like unfair. Like there's just things that come up that feel like, why, it's like, why are things the way that they are? And there's so many answers to that. Like there's so many reasons to why things are the way that they are. And just like the imbalance of resources, especially like in especially like in concentrated places. It's like you could see the dispersion of wealth like very drastically in some cities where like you can see the housing crisis alongside people who are doing very well, and there's just like a huge range of that. Um, and I think really what I was thinking about today was like how to be able to move through that, and how to, even when you are in a state of like financial stress, to be able to overcome that long enough to see a way out. um I think like anytime we bring up emotional things to other people, like talking about it, there is like this kind of instinct that a lot of people have to fix the situation or to try to see a way out of it. Sometimes people will like highlight the things that you're good at or suggest ways to go about overcoming the barrier, whether that's like finding a job or like pointing to skills that you may have. I think all of these things are good, but I do think that what this society is like demanding of people is so great that it's like to be able to support yourself, to be able to manage whatever type of like way that you're making money, alongside managing emotional, mental wellness, alongside managing like your physical health. Like there's just so many demands. And I think with that, it's like finding ways to think out of the box, like finding ways to come up with like new ideas that is going to just help like the bigger picture of how you want to live and how you want to see others live as well. um I think for me sometimes like I'll have moments of financial stress, and when I share it or when I express that, it's like there's a lot of there's a lot of like solutions that can come to mind, but I think that it really is like up to the individual, like how you want to go about pursuing things that you want to do, and being able to maintain like internal stability while that's happening. So on this channel, like I feel like I'm really talking to people who are just wanting to see like a way out, like a way out of, I could like think of it as like the matrix, or like a way out of like a rat race, a way out of just having to put so much energy, so much work into what feels like you're not getting a lot out of it, or like having to deal with like different strains, external things that make it difficult to have that emotional stability as well, because there's like a pressure on the type of freedom that you can have when you're dealing with financial stress. Like there's external things that can make you feel like your options are very limited. And I think that's where being able to like expand the way that we see things comes into play. Because when we can expand, when we can start to calm our nervous system down enough time to be able to have like some sense of clarity, that's when like ideas start to come, things start to happen. I'm a big advocate for people just like doing what they feel is the right thing to do, or like what they feel like driven to do. I think that that really does like help people see a way to a sense of like stability. And this is like very much like a journey that I'm still on as well. Like being able to just find like a sense of stability, like both externally and like emotionally. And I feel like that's why I felt all the more reason to talk about it, because it's like I have seen myself go through like peaks and valleys of these kinds of situations, and being able to overcome it time and time again, not just from an external standpoint, but like the internal shift that happens when you start to see things like stabilize for yourself, or when you start to see a little bit of progress in the direction that you want. I talked about this like in a previous video too, but like making an inventory of all the things that we have access to, all of our accessibilities, all of our resources, the being able to kind of like see from a bigger picture standpoint like what we truly have access to, I think has made it so that I one have like way more gratitude, being able to kind of see from a bigger perspective like the things that we have access to, the things that I have access to. It's made me feel like, okay, I'm not in such a stuck position. Like, even if I'm in a position where like I can't see directly the next step, or I have like a bigger vision and I'm trying to decide the next step, I'm trying to kind of like listen to my internal voice for that next step. It's like just knowing that I have the ability to think, knowing the ability that I have um like my physical abilities, being able to have like some resources and acknowledging like what those resources are, I think makes it so that like I'm not so fixated on like what's not possible. I think something that comes up a lot of times too, like just being someone who is empathetic in a way too. I think sometimes like it's easier to be empathetic when you've seen a lot of like you've just seen a lot of things, or like have experienced them for yourself. I think sometimes like there is a disconnect, like if they're if there's someone who's like never been in your situation or has never experienced like this form of financial stress, like sometimes there isn't like that understanding. But that doesn't mean that it doesn't still exist, and that doesn't mean that people still can't empathize or understand, at least from what you're sharing and what your perspective is. um, there was a point in time where I was unhoused, and I've had a lot of like fluctuation in housing like since then. And somehow, like, there were always ways that I was able to like just find a way past the situation. I had a lot of help from just a lot of different people. Like, things always came up. I was always like given some kind of opportunity. But I'm not saying that like I'm not saying that it's any less hard. It's still really hard. Like, and being able to have like some sense of faith, some sense of like internal just like trust, self-trust, knowing that there is a way out of a situation, knowing that like something can improve and get better. It takes a lot of strength, it takes a lot of practice, it takes a lot of being able to filter out emotions, I think, as well. Like, there have been times where I've had people just kind of like point me in a direction of what I should do, or talk to me like as if, you know, I just need to like get things together, or like not having so much sensitivity for being in that kind of situation. And I feel like sometimes like people will give advice like when they're not in that situation, not knowing like the pressure of what that situation feels like. Or maybe if they have experienced something like that, it's very easy to like forget unless you're in that, unless you're like in the middle of that. And I feel like it's just so important to be able to keep your mind strong, to be able to keep some sense of like stability, even in small ways, being able to like find independence in small ways, doing things for yourself, like taking time aside too. Like, I think that I did deal with some like self isolation while I was going through these situations, feeling like I didn't have any support, or I didn't know like where to go. I didn't know what the next step was as far as like being able to get to a place of like feeling more stable. But I think in those moments, it was very important for me to do all I could to align my emotions with my logic, and not allowing my emotions to take over so much that I couldn't see an opportunity, or that I couldn't take like some action. I think that there are times when it's just like very difficult to even see that next step, or it can be like overwhelming, feeling like, you know, you're not the only person who's dealing with this. Like, in our type of like society, like in the United States, like it can be like so much pressure. Like, capitalism is very prevalent here. Like, there's so many things where like you just walk outside and can see how there's regulations, there's ways that make it more difficult for people to just like live like normal lives, be able to like meet their most basic needs. In the city, it can be like very extreme too, like seeing just seeing like how different people live, and how there isn't like a lot of help. Like, a lot of people are just like all on their own, just trying to figure it out. And I applaud people who can help and who can offer things. There have been times when like I've done like tried to like help. There have been other times where I didn't feel like I had help to offer, and the situation can just kind of like change like that. But I feel like being in a state of mind where you can recognize what needs are being met and when it's time to pivot, when there are like listening to like the ideas that we have, and being not being made to feel like we're supposed to be doing something else. I think that was something that I would get caught up on a lot. Like I've talked about this too. Like I'm a creative person. I'm like constantly making things, constantly like doing creative things. It's how I am. It's like part of who I am. And for the longest time, like I would fight that. I would start to feel like um I wasn't finding stability enough and I needed to seek that out somewhere else. I needed to find like a form of stability somewhere else, or I needed to like rely on people, rely on a job, rely on something external than me. And I feel like I've worked so much to shift my mindset away from that and into trusting and believing that things happen, like opportunities come up. If you want to do something, then you have the resources to do the first step and to just like build and compound on that. It's not like, I won't say that it's not simple, because I think that when we are like listening to the intrinsic way that like we feel and the things that we feel we should do, if it's like helpful and like um if it feels like positive sharing, I think that when we start to fight that is when things start to get more unstable. A lot of times, like when we're surrounded by people who also feel this kind of like financial insecurity, financial instability, it can be like, it can be challenging. It can be straying you from what you might be feeling you need to do or feeling called to do. And I think that's all the more reason to just like stay so connected to yourself, stay consuming content that reinforces your vision or reinforces like believing that things are possible, things can change, and trying to protect your mind in a way too, like understanding that there is suffering everywhere, but we do have the ability for change. We do have the ability to help. We do have the ability to share, to create, to change things if we want to, and like not giving up on that. That's been something that like I've just been trying to hold on to so much, like not giving up hope that like I have the ability to have some kind of impact. Anyone else who I interact with has the ability for some kind of impact. Like once things start to cave in and start to feel like there is no hope or like there is no way out, that's when like that's when things are winning, like that's when large companies like systems, entities that like want us to fail, like that we're giving them our power by saying that we don't have any. And I've heard that like said so many times, but I do think that is true. Like I do think that we have so much capacity within ourselves if we have some sense of feeling like we are capable and we're not alone. Um it's a work in progress. It's something that like I want to keep advocating for. Like there's so many people who are just struggling every day. I've been a person who's just struggled like every day trying to find a way to sustain myself, a way to feed myself, take care of myself. Like, I fully know what that experience is like. And I know that anyone who's going through that, it's like it can be very difficult to manage our emotions and manage a feeling of hope that like things will get better. But I will say that it's important so that we don't sink, so that we don't give our power away, so that we don't give our autonomy away by just believing that we don't have any, because we do. We always have choices. Like, as long as we're here, we always have choices for change. And I think that, as difficult as it can be, I think that like when we share our stories, when we are open to new experiences and are open to seeing possibility for hope, seeing possibility for others, I think that it can make things change. And it helps us to all be strong, to be collectively strong, so that we can see ways out, so that we can be more creative, so that we can be more innovative, so that we're not just allowing things to be as they are, or allowing life to happen to us, or allowing the external world to change without our input. So that's something that came up for me. I feel super strongly about it. I'm gonna probably keep making videos about this too, just like managing financial stress, overcoming financial stress. It's a journey that like I'm on as well, but I do feel like I can bring myself back to believing and to having a knowing that I still have ability. Um I still have a sense of autonomy. I can still impact things. I can still contribute to positive change. And there's so many like tangible ways of doing that as well. And I'm constantly exploring like tangible ways to make things better. And sometimes I don't have the energy. Sometimes I don't have the time. Sometimes I do get caught up in the negative feelings around how things are, how society works, how the systems are, how they impact people. It can be very frustrating. And I think that's all the more reason to just kind of like be able to center yourself, and center yourself long enough that there comes a point of clarity, and there comes that sense of feeling like there is hope, there is ability, and there is access for more. And just being able to take a step in that direction, even if it's a small step, knowing that that will build momentum, and that will also like inspire other people and encourage other people to do the same in their lives, and to do the same with each other, being able to uplift each other and support each other where we can. We make choices every time we buy something. We make choices every time we invest in something, every time we share with someone. Like, there's constantly ways that we can find ways to make things easier while simultaneously like beating these systems. It's definitely difficult. Like, there are so many barriers, but it is possible, and there is a way to move in such a way where we're like beyond the systems as well, knowing how to do things for ourselves, and knowing how to help others in what they're doing, being able to trade resources, being able to share resources, share knowledge, sharing knowledge in free ways also. I'm a big advocate for all those things. And yeah, I'm going to keep encouraging anyone who needs it, because I know it's hard out there, but you got it. We got it. Like, we can definitely overcome these things. And we're not alone. We're not alone. And even in the moments when we feel alone, like knowing that there have been so many people before us, like to get us to this point, and there are so many people still around us that we can build together. It takes like opening up. It takes sometimes it takes time. Sometimes it takes just having a little bit of courage and faith to do something new, to try something new. But I do think that there is there is overcoming. There is hope. It's not all lost. Um, and even in the moments that we feel that it is, being able to have that like sense of coming back to ourselves, trusting, having the desire to continue to go on and to find new ways of being new ways of being. um yeah, that's what I have today. That's what came up for me today. uh it was nice chatting. Stay chill, and I'll talk soon. Bye.